We are here, recap number 16. We're so glad that you could join us today. Real quick, we talked about this last week, Philippians chapter 2. We talked about obedience, and the question is, why should we obey? And we talked about the idea of, when you obey, you're assuming the authority of the person telling you. So when the police officer asks you a question, or a parent tells a child, or there is some level of authority that person has to command something or to ask obedience, it's normally for good. It's helping. It's in that respect for flourishing. And so the idea when it talks about in the Bible about obeying Him, obeying Jesus, obeying what God has commanded, it's not only that He's perfect, but He really knows what's best, more than even things that we've created. I mean, He really wants to see us at the end of the day flourish. I mean, that's His heart, and He wants to see us come to know Him in a relationship that not only meaningful, but it just it really tells us how we should live. And so one of the things that we talked about is that Jesus, it said this, He humbled Himself and became obedient to death, even the death of the cross. So Jesus demonstrated humility through His obedience. He trusted God the Father fully. And so one of the things I loved about the message, or the opportunity to share it, is Paul looks at this church of Philippi, and he says, you've obeyed not only in my absence, but when I've been there. They really believe something about God that's been evident in how they've responded. And then he tells them, don't do anything without grumbling or complaining. And then he finishes off talking about his life being poured out, and that brings him joy, and also brings this church in Philippi joy, and he hopes it does. And so, man, obedience based upon the authority of the one who gives the command. How much do we believe God really knows what's best? And super, really good point about that whole message, and really enjoyed that. One of the things I would encourage is a lot of things that I'll say in a message, or things or ideas that I'll get, it's kind of an investment of time. It's a lot of personal time, whether I'm at home or coming to work, or even while I'm here at Calvary. I'm always listening to people talk about the Bible, and I think it's super helpful. And so one of the podcasts I want to show you right here, it's called The Bible Project. And so two guys, Tim Collins, and then John Collins. Oh, John, I'm sorry, I messed that up. John Collins and Tim Mackey. So Tim got his PhD in Semitic languages, so Aramaic, Hebrew, and the like. And then John and him went to Bible college together, and they really talk about concepts that are in the Bible. And John just comes at it from like a really trying to understand and to in conversation work out some of these things, like what is the law, what is wisdom. And so one of the podcasts that I've been listening to, and I really enjoyed it, it's the Bible Project's podcast, and it's episode 139, and it's a series, weeks upon weeks upon weeks, and it's called The Quest for Wisdom. Really encourage you, if you want to listen to something, just to kind of maybe you got a long commute, maybe at night before you go to bed, you just want to kind of think about something, and just be reflective about it. Their series on wisdom is just really well done. So and the podcast is broken up super well, and they have guests on the show on their podcast. They're based out of Portland, Oregon, and Tim is a professor at Western Seminary, so among many other things. So just encourage you, the Bible Project, we're going to put a link in the description for this one called The Quest of Wisdom. It's episode 1, and it kind of builds on top of that. If you want to learn about the law, just go a couple of podcasts earlier, and you're really going to like that. Also want to let you guys know, coming up August 18th, is that we're going to be having Dr. Gary Bashir's here. He is the professor, one of the professors at Western Seminary, and it is going to be great. So if you, Gary's going to be teaching the weekend message in Philippians chapter 3, and then what's going to happen that Sunday night, Gary's going to offer a class in a workshop on spiritual warfare. Gary comes at it, does a phenomenal job, really well, and it's very interactive. So spiritual warfare, August 18th. We'll have more information. We put it out later, but we're just really glad that he is able to join us that weekend. Here's the thing. You don't have to register to come out to this event. Come out to church that weekend, and then come on out that night to hear Gary do his lecture on spiritual warfare. You're not going to regret it. All right, that is Calvary Recap number 16. Thanks for listening. Hey, listen to the Bible Project and their podcast. It's really, really, really good. Very impactful for me. And some of the things that I'm able to bring out in my message is from the podcast. So, you guys have a great day.